4 o'clock. Until then, be safe, be kind, be well, and may the Swartz be with you.
Next stop, Sherry.
All until 4 p.m. And we have President Trump speaking right now, so let's go ahead and listen into a bit of what he has to say.
Sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bomber. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive. Very complicated subject. It's, I don't think we're waiting. I think we're moving very fast. It could happen pretty quickly. Say it.
How long you could sustain the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz?
The what?
How long you could keep the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz?
We're doing very well with the blockade. It's very routine for us. The Navy is incredible. And I think the blockade is doing very well. It's no ship is even thinking about entering. No ship is going past our Navy.
Why are you fighting with the Pope? And are you worried it's upsetting your...
No, I don't. I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple. I have nothing against the Pope. His brother's MAGA all the way. I like his brother, Louis. I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
What do you say to people who see that, who see your criticism of the...
Look, nothing. I have no disagreement with the fact the Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree. I think that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they do, the whole world would be at jeopardy. The Middle East will be blown up, and the whole world will be at jeopardy. We're very close to making a deal. That'll be a great thing. The Pope has to understand, Iran has killed more than 42,000 people over the last few months. Think of it, protesters without guns, without anything. They were totally unarmed protesters. The Pope has to understand that. This is the real world. It's a nasty world. But as far as the Pope and saying what he wants, he can do that. Now, I know the Pope's brother. He is a big MAGA person. He's got MAGA all over his house. His name is Louis. He's actually a great guy. And I'm sure the Pope is a great guy. I haven't met him. But I disagree with the Pope. If the Pope would allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, you can't do that.
There are people that are saying that the Pope is bad.
Anthony Mershak from MTV.
No, not really.
Anthony Mershak from MTV Lebanon.
What?
Anthony Mershak from MTV Lebanon. I would like to ask you regarding congratulations for the 10th war.
Yeah, it's very exciting. With Lebanon, it's very exciting. I think we're going to have a deal. We're going to have a meeting, first time in 44 years. And Lebanon will be meeting with Israel, and they're probably going to do it at the White House.
When do you think, President, when do you think they will?
Over the next week or two.
Or the next week, and do you think this agreement can reach?
I do. I think
without
we're gonna,
Hezbollah
I
agreeing
think
to
we
the
will have an
government?
agreement between Lebanon, and they're going to take care of Hezbollah. But they're going to be working on Hezbollah right now. But we'll have an agreement between Israel, very importantly, and Lebanon.
Will you support our Lebanese army as well in
I
order
would,
to
I would,
Hezbollah?
yeah.
Iran's going to execute.
Has Hezbollah agreed to the ceasefire? I mean, how do you even...
They're all agreeing. It's a very nice little package for about a week. And we're not going to have lots of bombs dropping. And we're going to see if we can make peace between Lebanon and Israel.
And this one more on the Pope, Mr. President, because there was a group of bishops that did put out a statement saying the Pope isn't merely exercising his opinion, he's preaching the gospel. I mean, what do you say to people that do this?
Well, I want him to preach the gospel. I'm all about the gospel. But I also know that you cannot let a certain country, which is a very mean-spirited country, have a nuclear weapon. If they did, they would use it, and I think they'd use it quickly, and they would kill many millions of people. So, you know, the Pope could disagree with me on that, but certainly we're allowed to have that. I'm all about the gospel. I'm about it as much as anybody can be, but I can't allow, as President of the United States of America, I can't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And here's the story. They won't have. They've already agreed not to have. That's good news, and I think the Pope will be very happy.
Iran going to execute 4 more people, including a woman.
The Federal Reserve should wait and see about this Iran war before lowering interest rates. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree. I think we should have lower interest rates.
Iran's going to execute 4 more protesters, reportedly, including the first woman protester. What do you tell Iran?
Well, tell that to the Pope. What did you say? Tell that to the Pope.
You want to patch things up with the Pope?
That Iran is going to...
Lebanese people love you so.
Did you just hear that? Iran is going to execute 4 people, including a woman?
Trump, the Lebanese love you so much. When you visit Lebanon.
Do you extend the ceasefire? What makes you extend that?
I don't know if we're going to have to, but if we need to, I would do that.
Wait, that's important. Sorry.
What are you telling the airlines and the oil companies about the ways you're going to open up the trade?
So if you look at the oil and if you look at the price we're paying, it's about half what people thought it would be if you did what I had to do. We had to take this journey to the Middle East in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon. There would have been, if we didn't hit them with the B-2 bombers, or if I didn't kill the Barack Hussein-Obama deal, the nuclear deal, which was a disaster, we would have had nuclear weapons exploding in the Middle East and beyond. I believe I've been able to stop that. I think we have a very successful negotiation going on right now, and I think it'll be, if it happens, it'll be announced fairly soon, and that'll give us free oil, free Hormuz Strait, everything will be nice, and I think your oil price will go down to lower than what it was before, and I think a lot of good things will happen.
Just for clarity, you're willing to extend the ceasefire period?
Well, we'll see. I don't know that we'll have to. Ideally, we'll, but if I needed to, I would.
The Lebanese people love you so much. What do you say? The Lebanese people love you so much. What's your message for them? And you will visit Lebanon after this deal?
I will do that. At the right time, I would certainly go there.
You think this war in Ukraine, Putin doesn't want to stop it apparently. He keeps bombing Ukraine. You think this war has the potential to go on for years more?
Well, it should have never started. If I were president, the war in Ukraine never would have started with Russia. But it's going on. Hopefully it'll get over soon.
The First Lady came out last week and said she had no link to Jeffrey Epstein.
Who did?
The First Lady, Melania Trump.
She had none.
Why did she come out and say that last week?
Because the fake news was saying she did, and she had none, and I think that's been proven. It bothered her that the fake news was being fake news. That's all. She just wanted to clarify.
Are you surprised?
Who's taking care of Hezbollah? Do you think that they are destroying the deal that you are trying to make?
We're going to see how it all works out, but they'll be working and coordinating. If you know Lebanon, right? So they'll be working with Hezbollah.
If they fire Jay Powell,
interested in acquiring Iranian oil?
What?
Are you still interested in acquiring Iranian oil after?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we have a very good relationship with Iran right now, as hard as it is to believe. And I think it's a combination of about 4 weeks of bombing and a very powerful blockade. The blockade is maybe more powerful than the bombing, if you want to know the truth.
Are you going to make the Arab countries pay a portion of all of the costs?
I think they'll make that. I think they're going to make that contribution. I think the Arab countries, because we've done a lot, I think they'd make a contribution toward the cost. Not been involved.
Iranian assets without any conditions if you make a deal?
We're going to see what happens, but I think we're very close to making a deal with Iran. You'll be the first to know, but I think we have a chance. And if that happens, oil goes way down, prices go way down, inflation goes way down, and you're going to have, much more importantly than even that, you won't have nuclear holocaust.
happening now? What talks happened, Mr. President?
All right, we were listening in there as the president addressed several reporters out there. It looks like he's still taking a few questions, but they're just a little further away from the mic, so we can't hear them as well. So we'll go ahead and kind of sum up some of the things that he talked about here. He said the bulk of the questioning obviously surrounded the war in Iran. He said also that addressing the Pope and the issues there between the back and forth that have gone between the president and the Pope. He said that the Pope has the right to disagree with him, and that he has the right to disagree with the Pope, but also that he that that he wants the Pope to understand that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Mind you, he also mentioned several times the Pope's brother. The Pope's brother, we actually reported on this morning, is from New Lenox, lives in New Lenox in our area, and he had a bomb threat at his home this morning. So that is a local connection to his comments there about the Pope and the Pope's brother being MAGA. The Pope's brother had a bomb threat at his home this morning as a result of this back and forth between him and the Pope. Also, he talked about Iran killing protesters, and that the Pope should know about that and should speak to that, and that they cannot, again, have a nuclear weapon, that they have agreed, he said, not to have a nuclear weapon. In fact, at one point in time, he said that they have a good relationship with Iran, that the blockade that's happening right now, the U.S. blockade, has been more powerful than the bombing that took place before it, that the blockade there at the Strait of Hormuz, and that he believes there will be a deal made very soon. He says if he did not kill President Obama's bill, his peace deal with Iran, there would be nuclear weapons going off, and that soon there will be free oil, the Strait of Hormuz will be open, gas prices will go down, inflation will go down, and there will be no nuclear holocaust. His words there. He also touched on this issue that just came out right before we came on today, and that is that the leaders of Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a 10-day ceasefire. Obviously, they have continued to have this back and forth of bombings going off between Israel and Tehran, the backed militant group Hezbollah. You heard that mentioned multiple times there, and so let's go ahead and bring in Paul Poast with the Department of Political Science for the University of Chicago to talk about that piece of it. I'm sure you were listening in. I know you've been waiting patiently to speak. What were your thoughts on the president's comments?
Well, I think you summed it up very well, that it sounds like the president is ready for just everything to be terrific and fantastic very soon. Now, of course, the key is to find out if that's actually going to take place. But I thought he did a good job of at least laying out that these are the issues on the table, everything from the support of Iran to various militant groups throughout the region, including Hezbollah, which is directly related to the ceasefire in Lebanon, to Iran's nuclear deal, to access to the Strait of Hormuz. Those are all the key issues, at least according to what President Trump said during those remarks right there. He's saying that all these things are going to be resolved very soon. The U.S. and Iran are going to have great relations. Gulf states are going to cooperate. But it all remains to be seen. And one of the key things is this ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon. It's not yet clear that Hezbollah, who is the key actor and a key reason why Israel is carrying out these military operations in Lebanon, has actually signed on to this ceasefire. So there's still a lot that is not determined. There's a lot that's unclear. But the president seems confident that all of this will be resolved. Yeah, because initially when the U.S. Iranian ceasefire was announced, maybe within 24 hours, Iran's like, now wait a minute, Israel is still bombing Lebanon. We might not have a deal here. So do you think our deal really hinges on that? I do. And if you go back to exactly that scenario that you're describing, there was a lot of disagreement and confusion between the U.S. delegation and the Iranian delegation about whether Lebanon was part of the ceasefire. Vice President J.D. Vance saying that it was due to a miscommunication. But I don't think that was fully the case. I think that is a fundamental issue, that Iran does view Israel's actions towards Lebanon, and specifically Hezbollah, who is a group that is supported by Iran, as being central to any type of comprehensive agreement. And I think that it's notable that the Trump administration, in a manner, seemed receptive to that argument, because according to my understanding of the situation, Trump himself then talked to Benjamin Netanyahu, and I think in the phrase that the president used was, ask Netanyahu if he could low-key the operation in Lebanon. I think, and meaning, of course, exactly this, try to turn down the temperature, because the president is concerned that it would undermine the U.S.-Iran negotiations. And the ceasefire today seems to be the product of at least that effort.
Yeah, and so as we draw closer to that 2-week deadline for the initial ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran, the president said we're going to see a lot of movement over the next couple of days. Do you think that the ceasefire will get extended, or that a deal will actually get done within this time frame?
I think all of these are possible. I think that it is possible that they maybe haven't yet reached an agreement, and so they'll agree to extend the ceasefire. I will admit that from my own perspective, I'm surprised the ceasefire is holding to the extent that it is. I think that's encouraging. Having said that, it's not yet clear to me that the fundamental issues between the U.S., Israel, and Iran have been addressed and can be addressed. Because the reality is that if you think about this from Iran's perspective, they had a deal with the United States under the Obama administration, and Trump left that deal. They were in the middle of negotiating with the Trump administration when the war broke out. And so what that leads to is a situation where Iran may not be able to fully trust any type of agreement that's signed. And moreover, Israel, and specifically from the perspective of Prime Minister Netanyahu, he views Iran as an existential threat to Israel. And is any kind of agreement going to actually address that fundamental issue? Or is it going to be a situation where they reach an agreement, fighting stops? But if you recall, fighting stopped last June, and then we ended up with the current war. Could we just simply be pushing off the restart of another war if there is some sort of agreement?
Yeah, I mean, Iran has said straight up they feel like we're not trustworthy anymore, and I don't know that the U.S. ever felt like Iran was trustworthy. So how do you sit down at the table and get anything done if you both are looking at each other like this what is this for? Let me ask you this. The president talked about, he was asked about the blockade, the U.S. now blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, and he was asked about whether the Arab nations may end up paying to go through there. How do you see that playing out? We saw the Iranians really use the Strait of Hormuz as this big bargaining chip, like we'll shut it down. 20% of the U.S. or 20% of the world oil supply typically goes through there. If everybody's complaining, pressure campaign. But now the U.S. is doing the blocking.
That's right. And I think a big part of what you saw, even from the manner by which Trump was addressing some of these questions, is, if you will, a lot of this is being made up as they're going along. And I think that's been a big part of this military campaign. My view is that Trump and members of his administration thought that this war would be much shorter than it was. I think they had a bit of what I've been calling Maduro momentum, which is in reference to, of course, the raid that happened in Venezuela back in January. That went very smoothly. It was very quick. I think Trump was expecting something similar here, and that didn't happen. And so as a result, they've been caught scrambling. And I think that's why the NATO allies were not brought on board, because they didn't think there would be a need to. They thought this would be over quickly. That the Gulf states were left vulnerable, to where you had the president saying no one could have predicted that Iran would attack the Gulf states. Of course, members of his own administration prior to this war had made predictions that if Iran was attacked, they would attack the Gulf states. And so it's the same thing with this blockade. The U.S. has gone in to implement a blockade. Now, the president is correct. The Navy is very well trained to be able to execute a blockade. They can execute a blockade, but it's a very complex procedure. And the extent to which other states are willing to join in that, contribute to it, make up for the economic loss for it, is again something that you can kind of tell they're making it up as they're going along, rather than having already put in place a plan ahead of time for how to execute this.
Yeah, so much that's still up in the air, and obviously we're still, losing lives in the midst of it. There's a lot of questions there as to how we get out of this. Thank you so much for your time. We always appreciate it, and we'll probably be calling you back soon.
Great, thank you.
Okay. It's about 1:20, everyone. Typically, I would give you right off the top of the show, of course, where we were going in the first hour, but the president was already speaking, so we wanted to quickly get to that before he finished his comments to these reporters that were standing outside of the White House. A few other things that we still do have lined up for the hour. We have the one and only much beloved Hollywood Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb is going to be joining us. He's going to talk all things space exploration. I accidentally said Hollywood. He is going to be talking a little bit Hollywood today too, as well, with a new movie out that we'll dive into with him. Also, in the U.S., it's hard to think in 2026 we're still having the conversation about Black maternal mortality, but Black women continue to face disproportionately higher rates of maternal morbidity and mortality, and it is Black Maternal Health Week, so there's an extra emphasis on that right now. The March of Dimes spotlighting doula hospital integration project. It's called DHIP, a new community-centered solution designed to improve birth outcomes for Chicago's moms and Chicago's babies. And we're going to have the Chicago director of the March of Dimes on the show as well. So stick with us. It's 1:20 right now. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and then we'll proceed from there. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It is 1:33 right now, and we're getting into this conversation about the disproportionately higher rates of maternal morbidity when it comes to Black women and the outcomes that we see, especially here in the city of Chicago. We have the March of Dimes director for our city, Michelle Adeyemi, joining me right now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about what the March of Dimes is doing in particular this week to really highlight the issues and also solutions.
Sure. So this week we are really working towards spreading more awareness around Black maternal health and the disparities that exist here in the United States, Illinois, and in Chicagoland. And we have a doula hospital integration project that we have been piloting for the past 2 years. And we are currently going through an expansion phase of that same project. And we're really excited about that.
Talk about the difference doulas make, and especially when it comes to things that cultural differences that actually could affect health outcomes.
Yes. So doulas are non-medical support professionals, and they provide emotional, informational, physical, and sometimes spiritual assistance to a birthing person. The best thing that I can say about doulas is that they are your birthing partner. They will be able to support you from prenatal through labor and delivery and postpartum. They also provide culturally competent care and, respectable care, so people have that connection and they build that trust with their doulas as well.
Yeah. Give us some examples of how things can go wrong when Black women especially go into hospital settings and try to advocate for themselves, whether it's pain tolerance or other things that may come up.
Yes, so a lot of times Black women are not believed when they're expressing their pain, discomfort. Also, they may not be able to feel that they can advocate for themselves. And so sometimes things are, certain procedures are just performed, or they don't really understand the full breadth of what is actually going on within the labor and delivery. So a doula is a really good guide that can help provide them that evidence-based information so that they can make an informed decision about their care.
Yeah.
They also help explain the birth experience and come up with a birth plan and help them understand how they can advocate for themselves. If they have a partner or a support person from their family, the doula also can express, and explain those things to them as well. And pretty much, they can't provide any medical advice or support. A doula and a midwife are totally different, and I know a lot of people get those two roles confused. But the doula's role is very important, and I like to say that the doula's role is a form of intervention. So it also helps decrease the anxiety that people have when they're going into labor and delivery as well. And doulas can also, I know I've been talking a lot about labor and delivery, but doulas can also attend prenatal appointments with people, or they can help debrief them on, okay, this is what your doctor talked about in your appointment today. How did you feel about that? Do you have any questions? Is there anything that we can research together? Or they can help them come up with the questions that they're going to take into those appointments so they do feel empowered to, advocate for themselves as well.
Yeah, and in 2026, I mean, these are some things that we are talking about that come from systemic issues. Maybe it's a bite at the apple, but maybe can you speak to trying to bring everybody along to move the needle further down the road?
Yes, that's literally what we are doing here at March of Dimes. So we realize, as you just stated, that it is a systemic issue, and it's going to take multiple systems, policymakers, community members to bring it all together. So access is one issue that people have. Some people just don't simply have access to high quality care. And then on the other end, we also have the systemic issues like racism or bias that people may have in a healthcare setting. And then we also have our policies, even down to the hospitals. Is a hospital doula friendly? Is a hospital going to respect and honor someone's birth plan? So those are some of the ways that the systemic issues impede our progress towards maternal health, but the ways that we're addressing them and creating solutions are by helping to expand, quality prenatal and postpartum care through, projects like DHIP, also addressing bias in healthcare settings through, different informed bias trainings, also strengthening the maternal health workforce, so helping to support the training of doulas and midwives in Chicagoland, because we do understand that actually having maternal health professionals in the right settings is important. On the South and West Side, the healthcare has been thinning out more and more. We've seen more unit closures and more hospital closures, so we really want to help, strengthen the maternal health workforce, and also invest in different community-based models of care. So models of care that maybe can be a one-stop shop. It could be a clinic that has all of those services, It can have your social work, your mental health, your doula support, your OB, So those are some of the ways. And then lastly, of course, helping to advocate for policies that will improve access to all of these services as well is very important.
Yeah. And do you feel like there is more movement, more conversation, more action to create a standard of care that is consistent regardless of race or income in 2026 or in the years to come?
I do believe, I can only speak for Illinois, I do believe that we are getting closer and closer, especially with the passing of that birth equity bill the legislation that came through in 2024. I do believe that we are getting closer because more provider types are being established. As I said, the maternal health workforce is being strengthened through that by providing reimbursement to more professionals. And then also just the fact that people are open to so many different innovative solutions. I can speak for March of Dimes. We have a mom and baby mobile health center that we are really excited that's going to launch soon. And that is another way that we can, show up in the communities where people already are and provide them with the services that they need. They'll be able to get prenatal care, postpartum care, well visits, immunizations, telehealth, and et cetera. So there's a lot of solutions that are going on that are really supporting that. And I think that the more that our state is working together collaboratively and breaking down the silos, the further we will get. And the more we can spread the love,
Yeah.
And that's really the goal, because it should not be a story of the have and the have-nots for healthcare, for quality healthcare. It should not be. It should be an equal setting for everyone to receive the care that they deserve in order to have a trauma-free and happy birth and, pregnancy experience.
You're absolutely correct about that. Before I let you go, you were speaking about, being in the community, gave us a little breaking news, but I know you all have a big event coming up on the 26th. Tell us about it.
Sure, yes. So our March for Babies is our annual walk where we raise awareness and funds towards the mission at March of Dimes. So all of the work that I mentioned today, March for Babies is one of the ways that we're able to raise that funding and raise awareness. And it is taking place at Montrose Harbor on Sunday, April 26th. And if you are interested in joining us here in Chicago, please visit marchforbabies.org.
I hope that people will go to that link and make sure they sign up and join you. It's so beautiful seeing everyone out there in their purple. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for what you all are doing on a regular basis. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Take care. Everyone, it's 1:32 right now. Avi Loeb is on the line, so give us just 2 minutes. I'll give you a couple of headlines that we have here that are trending on our website, and we'll get to our conversation with the one and only Harvard astronomer that so many of you love. Welcome back, everyone. About 1:35 right now. I was going to get into the web trending topics of the day, but the crew of Artemis 2 that just got back on Earth is speaking right now. Let's listen into just a bit of what they are saying as they're answering some reporters' questions before we get to our conversation with Avi Loeb.
But the ethos that you wanted to embody throughout the course of the training, the mission, and when you got back here on Earth. So I wonder, having spent 9+ days physically in integrity, how you found yourself being in integrity, emotionally and practically, as it was to exercise the spacecraft for the first time. Thank you.
Well, you addressed it to me, so I'll take it. We've talked a lot about integrity, and for folks that have followed us, there's a saying that we learned from one of our National Outdoor Leadership School instructors. Integrity is not a 1 or a 0. You don't either have it or not have it. You can be in integrity and you can be out of integrity. And I will tell you, I'll be the first to admit that there were moments on this mission where I was out of integrity, because sometimes the view or the human experience would just pull me away from the work. And it happens, and it's a beautiful thing to get to witness what we got to witness. But at the end of the day, you got to do the mission too. And so there were moments where I was out of integrity. There was moments where each of us would fall out for a second. But the coolest part of that word, I was reflecting on last night, like, we named that spacecraft integrity, and it just kind of coalesced this thread in the 4 of us. And whenever someone would slip out, it was amazing to watch the other 3 pull them back in. And what a glorious thing. Anybody want to add anything for integrity? It's just such the perfect name for this crew and this spacecraft.
We're going to take a few more questions here in the room and then go over to our phone bridge. Just a reminder for those on the phone bridge to please press *1 when you're ready to enter the queue. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Nick Notario with ABC 13. I want to talk to you all about the magnitude of what you all just did. So to give you some idea, ABC, on the splashdown coverage alone, 10 million people watched our network that day. Just splashdown. That's not the launch, the lunar flyby. And I got to tell you, one of those viewers was my daughter, Ellie, who turned 4 during your mission. And she was mesmerized by what you all were doing. She wasn't talking about her big bluey birthday party. She wasn't talking about the gifts that she got. Every night I came home from JSC, she said, "Daddy, Ellie, go to space." She was infatuated. When you hear stuff like that, and the amount of people that were interested in what you've done, has the gravity yet hit you about this mission, and how has it changed you as well?
First, I just want to thank you for sharing that. That is wonderful to hear about your daughter. That's awesome, and thank her for that, creating that story. We landed on Friday. Tomorrow will be 1 week, and I just was trying to live in a little hole for 1 week. Been off social media, not on the news, so no, I don't know, but my kids have made it pretty clear, my neighbors, and it's hard to live in a bubble nowadays. I'm trying very hard, but I think it's what I've come to realize is we did what we said we were going to do, and now we've got to step out and just face that reality. And so that's a great thing, but I'll figure it out tomorrow. Courtney started this by saying the crew is ready. I'm really not, but I will be next week.
Boy, oh boy, they said that they will be bonded forever, and what an awesome crew we have come to know them to be. They are just amazing, and every time we have the opportunity to hear from them, we stand in even more amazement of what they have done and the people that they are, and just hearing that beautiful story from the reporter there about his daughter. I still remember when I saw Mae Jemison go up into space when I was younger, and you think oh my goodness, what did I just watch? Can I do that one day? A lot of kids are thinking that now, and many of them, for some of them, it may come true. Let's go ahead and bring in Avi Loeb. I know he was just beaming as he was listening in there. Hope you didn't beam you up, but
thanks for having me. And indeed, I think the most important achievement in Artemis 2 is inspiring a new generation of space exploration. And, for 54 years, we haven't had that. And the future is with our kids. And as much as we tend to think that investing all our resources on concerns of what happens here on Earth is what we need to do. No, actually, because we do every now and then think about the purpose. What is are the reason for what we're doing. And it's exploration, trying to find new things about our cosmic neighborhood. And we can send humans, of course, to relatively nearby destinations like the moon or Mars. Once we start dreaming about going farther, it will have to be robots with AI. And that would be inspiring as well. It's a different type of kids. It's not our biological kids, it's our technological kids that we will send out to longer journeys. And that will be a completely new frontier. So far, we haven't used AI in space. So there is a lot to be done. And of course, as you well know, I think that we will get our inspiration once we find that other civilizations did that already.
And speaking of other civilizations, tell me a little bit about this visit that you're getting very soon from a congresswoman.
Yeah, Congresswoman Ana Paulina Luna will be visiting my office at Harvard University tomorrow, and I very much look forward to that. She has been a visionary in her push for the declassification of records on unidentified anomalous phenomena and many other topics in politics as well. But on this subject, we will be briefing her about the latest results from the Galileo project. There are some exciting results that are not yet in the published literature. We will show it to her. And I will also show her the Great Refractor. That's a telescope that was built almost 200 years ago, and it was not used much for discovering new things in the sky because the sky is very cloudy in Cambridge, Massachusetts. But nevertheless, I really am looking forward to meeting her, especially at this time when following the directive from President Trump to the Department of War to release any classified materials related to unidentified anomalous object or extraterrestrial life. Following that, Congresswoman Luna submitted a formal letter to the Pentagon asking for the release of 46 videos that were never released before and on UAP, and the deadline was this week on the 14th of April. The date these videos were not released as of yet, but we were told that the White House is working together with the Pentagon on releasing related videos, and I very much look forward to that. If there is a way I can help them figure out what these videos mean, I will be delighted to do so. And of course, it all relies on the quality of the data. So we have to get to the raw data. It cannot be processed. It cannot be modified in any way. And the only concern, of course, is that there will not be any compromise of national security interests in the process. And that can be pretty much guaranteed if we're dealing with data from a long time ago. But also if the data shows objects that definitely maneuver in ways that cannot be reproduced by human-made technologies, then as long as we know how the objects are moving without compromising the quality of the sensors that were used to detect that, I think it would be extremely interesting. And what I'm doing is not just waiting for the government to release this data. The Galileo project that I'm leading is collecting new data from new observatories. I was just speaking an hour ago with my team, and we are looking at objects in the sky, millions of them actually, and we are able to triangulate to figure out their distance, velocity, acceleration. And the question is any of them moving in a way that we cannot understand in terms of human-made objects? So we are doing our job in looking at the sky at the same time that we're waiting for government to release anything they might have. And I think these are exciting times. This time that we are living in is marked by the rejuvenation of space exploration, as evident from the success of the Artemis II mission. Also, artificial intelligence is getting to a point where it will supersede human intelligence. We're close to that within years. And in addition, we might find evidence for alien intelligence. So I think the kids of today live in an amazing time. And the question is, which of these important breakthroughs will be the most prominent. I believe that it's discovering alien intelligence, because AI and space exploration, they're all based on the data set that we experience close to Earth. Whereas if we discover alien technologies, they represent a data set that goes beyond Earth, that could be far more expansive and exciting. So, and in fact, it would be more interesting than Hollywood scripts, such as the one that will be used, for example, in Steven Spielberg's movie that comes out in June, Disclosure Day.
Mm-hmm. We talked about the age of disclosure in the fall, and now there's a lot of conversation when we talk about Hollywood about Hail Mary. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I actually went to that movie and I liked it. In general, I should mention that I don't enjoy science fiction. I enjoy fiction and I enjoy doing science, but on many occasions, science fiction narratives, they deviate from the laws of physics, and in doing so, I feel uneasy to watch them. And in this case, for example, just to give you an example, the human body loses about 1.5% of the bone mass every month in low gravity. That's what happened to the 4 astronauts on Artemis 2, but they went only for 10 days. And if you were to go for years, then your body will deteriorate significantly. And so there was no attention to that detail for the astronaut on the mission to another star in that movie. And also the human body, if it's exposed to cosmic rays, energetic particles, there is cancer, that there is a lot of damage caused to the human flesh by being outside the Earth's atmosphere. The Earth's atmosphere is like a womb. It protects us. It protects us in 2 ways. One, against these energetic particles that are being stopped by this blanket of gas that is our atmosphere. But moreover, there are micrometeorites. These are tiny, millimeter size fragments of rock that are, filling up space, and they are coming at very high speeds, faster by a factor of 10 than a bullet, and so if such a micrometeorite were to hit your body, it will be worse than being hit by a bullet. But fortunately, the Earth's atmosphere burns up these small particles when they come into it, because they create a fireball and they have a large surface per unit mass. So they basically burn up, and we don't see them on the ground. However, if you are going in space, or on the moon, it doesn't matter. The moon doesn't have an atmosphere. If such a micrometeorite were to hit your body, you might die. And these kinds of risks are not attended to. For example, when Elon Musk discusses the opportunities of going to Mars for humans, or in science fiction narratives where a human travels for thousands of years through space. And so I feel a little bit uneasy about sending humans to long journeys. Even if you freeze their body, there are lots of risks out there. I would feel much more comfortable having our ambassadors being robots with AI, because then we don't have any ethical issues with that.
And speaking of that, I remember, and I mentioned this just the other day because we're having all of these conversations about the Artemis 2 crew. I remember when there was the conversation about the Kelly twins, Mark and Scott Kelly, both astronauts at the time, and whether the length of time in space had even changed, in some way, the DNA chain for one of them. Do you remember that?
Yes, there was a biological difference that was tested, but most of the missions before the latest Artemis, over the past 54 years, they were relatively close to Earth. The fundamental question is, are you leaving the Van Allen belts, which block cosmic rays, for example? And are you in a very low gravity environment? I mean, if you are close enough to Earth, in a low Earth orbit, the Earth's gravity is not modified by much. You need to go beyond roughly a distance comparable to the radius of the Earth for gravity to drop down. significantly. And so space missions really depend on how far you are from the Earth. And as long as you are pretty close to Earth, the damage is not as bad. And of course, pilots that are on airplanes, they don't have these issues because they're still embedded within the Earth's atmosphere. And so if you go for a journey that is months to years outside of the Earth's gravitational pull and outside of the Earth's atmosphere, I would consider seriously the health hazards, and you might think of that as a one-way trip. Now, going to large distances is very appealing because that's where the unknown is. The Vikings went out to explore the world when it was not much was known about it. They went and settled in at the tip of Canada, but they didn't go south to explore to find the Americas. Otherwise, they would have been the first to find the Americas. They were explorers, and for them, it was the unknown. And if we wanted to explore the unknown, we will have to, go out of the solar system, because within the region of the planets, we pretty much mapped what exists. That would be equivalent to someone taking a trip to a known land, somewhere that was already visited. But going out of the solar system is, of course, where the unknown lies and where a lot of things may exist that we've never heard about. We just don't know about it because they are not easily detectable with our telescopes. But we could venture there, or we can examine things that came into the solar system from outside, like interstellar objects. That's why there was so much excitement about 3I Atlas, for example. And there is excitement about unidentified anomalous phenomena.
Yeah. So I have just a few more questions, Hollywood related for you before I let you go here. First and foremost, when we're listening to you and you say, and I mean, it makes sense that for someone like yourself that's so well studied on these things that maybe you can't watch a lot of sci-fi because it's so far out there, and in your mind you're kind of going through, nope, that wasn't right, this isn't how it would happen, all of those things, and it kind of ruins the experience. So we're like, does that mean he doesn't like Star Wars?
Yes. But I should say that just an hour ago I was contacted by the producer of a new film that asked me if I'm willing to play a cameo role in it in a month, and the cameo role will be myself. So this film is about someone who has an experience with extraterrestrials, and they want me to be in it just to play myself. I said, that's not difficult. I don't need to practice too much for that. So that will be my first experience in an acting job.
Well, that's super
never
cool.
Done it before. I should also mention that I was given plastilina, which is this material that you can shape as you wish. I was given it by a sculptor named Greg Wyatt, one of the most accomplished in the US. And he asked me to create my own sculpture. And I made a sculpture that I called The Alien. And I delivered it to him. And he converted it so far into red wax. And the next phase will be that it will be cast in bronze. And that will be my first sculpture. So I'm getting into the arts. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, don't get too Hollywood on us now, Avi. Don't get too Hollywood on us. We although it may put you, may put you in proximity to Kim Kardashian, and that's a whole nother conversation. But we're still waiting on that one to happen. But
well, she's always invited. She just needs to get in touch with me. She can find my contact information anywhere. But I mean, life is interesting when it's unexpected, and I can say that as of now, my life is interesting.
Okay, 2 more questions for you. When you watch these movies, when you do watch, certain movies, what do you feel like communication with aliens would actually be like?
I think it will be extremely difficult because usually the way you learn a language, the way a baby learns a language is by common experience with the parents. So when you see a certain object and the parents give it a name, and the baby learns that whenever they say that word, that means that object, so they need to have a common experience in order to figure out our language, babies. Now, when we meet aliens, we would not have a similar experience from our past. We will have to develop interactions and experience things together in order to teach each other what they mean. So if we spend some time together, like any other date, eventually we learn a common language. Just the first encounter will be quite embarrassing, I must say, because it will be difficult to communicate.
But maybe they've studied us for a long time. Who knows? Now, final question here, and it is one of the most iconic Hollywood lines, the truth. You can't handle the truth. So do you think that there's a part of us not getting these documents that maybe has to do with the fact that if they came out, Hollywood would be done for good, that we wouldn't be able to dream up these things anymore?
Well, we would not be able to dream up these things, but we will immediately dream up new things because, our knowledge is an island in an ocean of ignorance. And the goal of our existence, at least my existence, the meaning of my life is to expand the landmass of this island. And the more you expand the landmass of what you know, the more shoreline you have with ignorance. There is more periphery for you to explore. And so if we learn something, if we learn that we have cosmic neighbors, then we will have a whole new set of questions to ask, a whole new frontier of science fiction films to imagine. So it will actually give us more scripts than we had in the past, because once you know something, you have many more questions to ask, and it's a never-ending process, the learning process, and that's what makes life fun, and that's what kids do all the time. But when we become adults, we forget about it, and we pretend to be the adults in the room and know the answers without exploring, without taking risks. That's unfortunate. That's why people develop gray hair and they become grudgy. However, I refuse to follow that. And I think we should all enjoy the process of learning, just like kids. We should stay kids forever. A
childlike curiosity is a wonderful thing. Gray hair, maybe not so much. I'm not saying that I have any, but thank you so much for coming on the show. We always have a wonderful time and learn something new, and we appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. The one and only. That's why we always have to introduce him. The one and only Harvard astronomer, Professor Avi Loeb. Let's take a 2-minute break, everyone. We'll set you up for where we're going in the second hour here on Chicago Live today. Welcome back, everyone. 2:01 right now. Thanks so much for being here with us in our second hour of Chicago Live today. Some great conversations on the way. We're going to talk about brushing scams. This is new for many of us on this side, so we're going to learn something today. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before, but maybe we'll all kind of be clued into what that is so that we can avoid them. We'll talk about that around 2:45. My goodness, we have seen so much flooding. I mean, we've had rain off and on. I was looking out the window. We've had it off and on just even over the course of the last hour that we've been here doing Chicago Live, but we've had it so much over the last several weeks that now some of these rivers are starting to spill over. And so we've had a lot of flooding. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as well later on, especially DuPage, more specifically what's going on there. We've had conversations about DuPage and video that we've been showing on the air, and you'll find that online as well on fox32chicago.com to see what they are dealing with in DuPage. But we're going to start with this fight over swipe fees. Federal government looking to stop a controversial Illinois law banning certain credit card fees. You've probably seen some of the commercials online. This is a move that some say favors financial institutions that have fought the state in court for more than a year. And I have Bankrate Principal Analyst Ted Rossman here to give us more details about it. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Good to be here.
Mm-hmm. I've seen some of the commercials that say, you know, people need to contact their lawmakers, need to step in and fight this. Give us the background about it. If no one has been following the fight thus far and they just see the advertisement, where are we with this? What's going on here?
Sure, yeah, there's a lot of confusion. So what we're talking about are interchange fees. Those are the processing fees that merchants pay credit card companies every time we dip or swipe or tap our card. And on average, the typical interchange fee is about 2.2%, according to the Nielsen report. Merchants hate these fees. They complain about how much it cuts into their profits. Illinois has passed a very interesting law set to take effect on July 1st. It's really first of its kind in the U.S. that would exclude interchange fees on certain parts of the transaction, namely tips and sales tax. So merchants don't want to have to pay this extra 2.2% on the sales tax or the tip if somebody uses a credit card. Now, the financial industry is really pushing back. Some of it is that it would cost them money, of course. Some of it is they say it's just unnecessarily complex. They warn about unintended consequences, like maybe some merchants would have to stop accepting credit cards because it just wouldn't be workable. There's a lot of rhetoric and confusion on all sides here, but we've kind of got the bank side, the merchant side, and then consumers are caught in the middle.
Yeah, caught in the middle yet again. And so when would this take effect if passed?
July 1st, and it's really proposed as a cost savings, definitely a cost savings for merchants. I am skeptical that this would filter down to consumers. We've kind of seen this movie before in some respects. Debit card interchange is a little different, but it was actually capped nationwide about 15 years ago. And merchants said they would lower prices, but they didn't. The Federal Reserve found that only 1% lowered prices. So in some respects, this is really a fight between merchants and banks, and then we get caught in the middle. Some say that broad-based interchange caps could actually cut into credit card rewards. I don't think this is enough to change that calculus, just because we're talking about one state and we're only talking about parts of transactions. It's not like a blanket cap that would take the 2.2% much lower. Coincidentally, a lot of countries have lower caps and they have lesser credit card rewards. So in Europe and in Australia and Canada, these banks are not making as much from interchange and they're sharing less of it in the form of rewards. I tend to think from a consumer standpoint, the system that we have right now is really the best if you pay in full. And that's the thing. Half of cardholders pay in full. They benefit from rewards. The other half pay expensive interest charges. I do think, back to this Illinois law, I do think there's going to be a lot of confusion. And I do think that some service businesses, for example, might maybe not be as willing to accept tips on cards just because of some of the confusion, and ultimately that could potentially hurt workers because people aren't carrying as much cash these days.
Yeah, and that's one of the advertisements on the air talks about the fact that you won't be able to pay a tip with your credit card anymore.
That's one of the warnings. Now, it may not always work out that way. I mean, this law is not banning tips on cards. It's just saying that the banks can't make interchange revenue off of that. But we do think that one of the possible things that the financial industry could do is they could say, well, this whole thing is too confusing. We can't really split the transaction. You've got to pick one or the other. Either you use a card or you don't. Now, others say, well, actually, they can figure out how to segment these things out. I mean, it's been a lot of rhetoric on both sides. The federal government actually has weighed in. They're actually pushing back on this. There are multiple ongoing legal challenges still winding their way through the courts, but the White House has actually weighed in on the side of banks, and they're trying to get the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency to pass a law that would potentially supersede the state law and would say that this kind of thing is not allowed. Other states are interested in following Illinois' lead. There are actually about 30 states right now that are in some form of trying to go down this path. Illinois is the first. It's a big test case. The banks are not happy about it. It remains to be seen if this will be implemented on July 1st. But there are some potential concerns about what happens with card usage. Are the systems going to be up to snuff? Are they going to be able to make this segmentation? Are some banks going to say, well, we don't want our cards used for certain kinds of transactions? How do merchants play into this? The big ones are a lot more sophisticated than some of the mom and pop kind of stores. So these are some of the things that are still being sorted out.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, not knowing whether July 1st will end up being the date, it was already delayed from last year to this July.
That's right. And that's what often happens with this sort of thing. We saw that also, a little bit different issue, but a few years ago with those chip credit cards, there were certain industries like gas stations that got an exemption. They were decrying the high cost of implementing this at their pumps. And the payment system is very complex in the US. And that's really some of where this all comes back to in a macro sense is that, let's face it, we're not going back to a cash first economy. So I really believe that accepting credit cards is a necessary cost of doing business in 2026. And I feel like some of the merchant complaints are a bit short-sighted because I know they don't want to pay the 2.2%, but I also know that there's a lot of data that shows that people spend more when they use credit cards because there's less friction and you have the money versus you may not actually have the cash on hand. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I feel like this will be most applicable to service kind of businesses. And even in other states, like I live in New York, I used to get my haircut at a place where they would let you pay for the haircut with your credit card, but they didn't want you to put the tip on there. So that was kind of the small merchants saying that they didn't want to foot the bill. Now in Illinois, this could be codified as law, but what does that actually mean in practice? There are some questions about the implementation of this law. It may seem well-intentioned that it could save merchants and potentially consumers money, but the banks are fighting it and it's all pretty complex.
You know, I went to a nail shop that was the exact same way. I want to ask you a couple more questions before I let you go here. You mentioned about 30 states that are kind of all looking at Illinois and deciding in their own way whether they'll be next. Are we looking at 30 Democratic states, or do we see bipartisan conversation on this particular issue?
I believe it is a bipartisan issue. It's interesting because retiring Illinois Senator Durbin has long been a crusader against interchange fees. He was actually the architect of that debit card cap that I talked about 15 years ago. It was known as the Durbin Amendment to Dodd-Frank. He has really made this a big part of his platform over the years. And some say that's great and that saves merchants and possibly consumers money. Others say it's kind of a handout to the retail lobby, and banks are not happy about it. But interestingly, he has some legislation pending in Congress that would be nationwide that is a little bit different, but it's related in the sense that it's all about promoting more competition. And what's more American than competition, right? Enabling more transactions, counterbalancing what he says is a Visa, MasterCard duopoly. Now, that one has a lot of bipartisan support. There's conservative senators like Marshall from Kansas, who's a co-sponsor of that. Vice President Vance was actually a co-sponsor when he was a senator. So there are some interesting voices kind of on both sides. And we've actually seen this with other financial issues lately, too. The president agrees with Bernie Sanders that there should be a 10% credit card rate cap. I mean, those are kind of strange political bedfellows. I don't think that's going to pass in its current form, but there is sort of a populist streak running through both parties on some of these credit card issues right now.
Very interesting. And then what do you make of what seems like several different debates that are happening between how to help? I mean, if affordability is an issue, that hits the business owner and the consumer. But I mean, we were just talking about like the tipped wage discussion here in our city yesterday, and have been for the last couple of weeks. But we keep coming back to these issues of who do you help, the business owner or the consumer? Can you help both? Is one going to suffer? Talk a little bit about that, because it seems like it is a recurring theme.
I feel like some of these things are well-intentioned, but there are unintended consequences. It is hard in practice to help everybody, and I do empathize with that. I mean, I feel like in theory, Senator Durbin and others would say, well, this is great. We're going to lower these fees. Merchants are going to save money. They're going to pass on the savings to consumers. Unfortunately, they don't always do that. And then also, sometimes banks push back in their own way. Like with that debit card cap, a lot of banks raised other fees. So they were making less money from debit interchange, but they didn't just take that lying down. They said, well, we're going to make it more expensive to get a checking account. We're going to raise ATM fees. We're going to raise overdraft fees. So I feel like a lot of these political proposals are well-intentioned, but how it plays out in the real world is much more complex because everybody kind of has their stake in it. The banks don't want to lose money. The retailers don't want to lose money. Consumers just kind of get fed up with the whole thing, and they feel like it's heads, the other guy wins, tails, you lose. And that's sort of how this ends up playing out from a psychological standpoint sometimes, unfortunately.
All right. Well, thank you for getting us up to date on what's going on out there, the conversation surrounding it. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. It's 2:13, everyone. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be back. I'll update you on some of the things that are trending on the web, on our website, and then we'll proceed with our next conversation about the flooding that's happening in DuPage. Welcome back, everyone. It's about 2:16 right now. We're going to go over a few web trending stories on Fox32Chicago.com right now. We have one about a man killed in a shooting involving the Illinois State Police. This was on Chicago's South Side. A lot of people looking for more information on this that came out first thing this morning. Authorities say that the man was armed, later died at the hospital after officers tried to render aid there. But the man's father alleges that police shot his son multiple times. Officials have not confirmed those details. The investigation is continuing there. All of this playing out in the 6500 block of South Champlain Avenue, where officers responded there first to a domestic battery. That's what sent them there, and then they found what they say was an armed man, and everything kind of spiraled from there. So we do know that he was 24-year-old Jalen Carpenter. His father identified him as 24-year-old Jalen Carpenter. But again, more questions, and a family that's very upset right now. Police that are on a standard procedure of stepping away after a shooting like this takes place. So let's go ahead and go to another story. This is about an Illinois woman who was paralyzed in an I-55 crash. Ooh, she has secured a $60 million settlement. So a lot of people have been clicking on this story as well. Attorneys say that a large pothole in a construction zone caused this crash. That it should have been addressed before the lane stayed open. We always say there's, wintertime, and then there's construction season, and we've just kind of been ushered into construction season. So you think about if an issue is not addressed in time and someone does go over that particular piece of road, what could happen. And in this particular case, they said several construction and engineering companies were named as defendants in this case. It was a 31-year-old Manuka woman that now secured this $60 million settlement for this crash that took place on I-55 near Renwick Road. And boy, oh boy, she has been left paralyzed, life changed forever, but $60 million to hopefully cover some of the expenses that she will incur now going forward in life. And then there's the story of what all happened outside of a high school yesterday that still has people clicking on our website. And there are multiple stories, I'll tell you, that we're trying to see if they are all related. One of the links that is populating right now, the title of it is Teen Girls in Custody After Attacking Cook County Sheriff's Officers. According to the police here, it was two 15-year-old girls arrested after allegedly battering Cook County Sheriff's officers in Woodlawn. Police responded to reports of gunshots. That's a separate story. Okay, remember I said multiple links. Police responded to reports of gunshots, found a large fight. The teens struck officers who tried to intervene. Two officers suffered minor injuries, and the cause of the initial altercation remains under investigation. So still a lot of questions that the police are looking to get answers to, but then also the community as to what happened out there, because we also had two teenagers who were shot, one who died yesterday. And so it was a chaotic, there was a lot of chaos happening in that area at the time. This particular link is populating as people are finding out about all of it. But again, we haven't independently connected all of it. So there are multiple links. The high school where these teens who were shot sent out a statement, and in it we could conclude this is now the third student that this high school has lost in the last month. There were a couple of hit and runs that we reported on, and then the shooting yesterday. And again, I believe it was a 15-year-old girl who was shot. She's in the hospital, a 16-year-old boy who did not make it. So a very tragic situation, chaotic situation for all, but this particular link as a separate story, is populating on our website as we continue to get information on all of it. So that's just a few of the things that people are looking at on our website. Let's talk about one of the stories that we've been getting more video on as the day has progressed, and that's the flooding that's going on in some parts of our area, more specifically DuPage County. Stormwater management now operating flood control facilities, and we have Jim Zay, the Stormwater Management Committee Chairman, who is joining me now to talk more about what's going on there. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Walk me through the last 24 hours for you all.
Well, it's been busy, obviously. We've gotten so much rain here in the last week or so. So, our facilities started taking in water yesterday. A lot of our northern DuPage County got about 2.6 inches of water or rain coming in. So that we've got obviously operating systems. It reaches certain levels, and then we open those facilities up in the northern half of DuPage.
Mm-hmm. And would you say that this is a common occurrence for that particular area? Is this time of year significant for you all?
Well, the spring. I mean, we're also dependent on the surrounding area. Like Salt Creek, where we have two of our large facilities, the Wooddale Itasca Reservoir and the Elmhurst Quarry, depend on Salt Creek, which starts up in Cook County, and we're dependent on Blessy Woods. So I know northern Cook had gotten a lot of rain, so after a day or so, it starts flowing towards us. So we had to open our facilities. Like the Elmhurst Quarry, once we opened the Elmhurst Quarry, we opened it twice now in the last 3 weeks because of all the rain. And when we do that, we basically take in half the flow of Salt Creek into our facility.
Wow. And what do you say to residents? I mean, what are they experiencing right now, and what do you advise them?
Well, I mean,
how do you advise them?
First thing is that this is like, if you do have some flooding, it could be localized. I mean, we had an early winter this year. There's still a lot of leaves and debris out there. I've seen a lot of localized flooding on streetways. I mean, get out there and clean out those grates and get all the sticks and leaves out of there. I mean, obviously the ground is now saturated, so you want to try to get that water away from your house as fast as possible. Make sure your downspouts are all clear and it's got a path to go. We bought these facilities and we maintain them, and it's a payoff on all of our hard work, I think, because if we heard about any flooding, it's just been localized.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of reading where it says some of these facilities protect the surrounding areas from flooding without human intervention using fixed weirs and natural drainage systems. Can you talk about how that's kind of changed the game, having these systems that don't require humans?
Yeah, I mean, when I started, I've been at the county over 20 years, and we would actually physically have to send our crews out there to open the facilities, hand crank floodgates, do everything else. So now we've modernized all that. So we have video, we have cameras looking at those facilities, and our staff is up. While people are sleeping, our stormwater staff is watching these facilities, and once they hit those trigger levels, they can do it on their laptops. They can open those weirs and those gates and let the water in.
That is a pretty stunning change. I mean, it's maybe not stunning for 2026, but a stunning turn of events from, I'm sure, when you started.
It is, and it's great for safety for staff. They don't have to be out there. We always used to have two staff out there at one time to make sure there was no problems. And now it's you don't have to have somebody driving out there having an issue. As soon as there's no delay on opening these facilities, we can open them right away, and that alleviates the chance of people flooding.
Oh, wonderful. Now, when you look at the forecast, I mean, we here in the city, we're sitting with some super dark clouds in front of us, but at the moment we're not getting rain, but it's kind of been coming and going. What have you all been experiencing? And when you look at the forecast, what's going through your mind as you all move forward?
Well, I mean, obviously there's more rain forecasted, but when we have these lulls, it's actually pretty good. We can get the water, in the facility, and then at some point, when we don't need to keep the facility open, we shut it off because we don't want to use up all that capacity that we have. And then if there's time later today or tomorrow, we can actually start pumping out those facilities so we can continue to have the volume that we need if there is a major event coming up here over the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Would you say this is early in the season for all of this, or right on time?
Right on time, I would say. I mean, usually we haven't been getting a lot of rain, in past years, but usually, April showers bring May flowers. So this seems to, be happening. I don't think we're used to it. Again, we haven't got a chance for the ground. The ground's completely saturated, so when it rains, it just runs off, right away. Where, in times where if you get some breaks or get a week or so without it, you can get everything to dry out. But now it's we're dependent on this rain coming, and it's going to get into our systems a lot quicker than it usually does.
And what are some other issues that you all monitor that maybe we're not even aware of when we get this much rainfall?
Again, it's, our staff is dedicated. They do flood forecasting. So, as you see, like the weather stations have their weathermen, we have our staff that go over different scenarios of, what will happen. And we can, again, pre-pump out our facilities if we know there's going to be, a major chance of something coming through. We send our crews out. I saw that the Plains River was having problems. We send our crews out during events like this and make sure we don't have blockages of trees and branches and everything else around our inlets and our outlets, so they don't get backed up and don't get in the facilities. So there's a lot of work that goes on with our crews and our staff to make sure that we made this investment and that everything goes right.
And would you say there's a particular trouble spot that plagues you all?
No, I mean it depends on the rain. We've seen where you have a thunderstorm come through and it just sits in an area for an hour or two and dumps 4 or 5 inches of rain over an hour or 2 hour period. You like to say you can prepare for that, but you really can't. I mean, you build facilities for certain rain events, and when you get these like supercells or any of these larger thunderstorms that sit and just dump a large amount of rain in a short period, you do the best you can and hope that your system can handle it.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for what you and your crews do. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show to give us an update. We saw the video. We had, an aerial view first thing this morning, and goodness grief. I mean, it makes you marvel at how quickly the water can rise.
It does. So, well, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Take care. Everyone,
Bye-bye.
It's 2:28. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 2:30, and really excited about this next story. And it's the 50th anniversary celebration of the Ridge Historic District, and it's kicking off with an unveiling of a street pole banner. So let's bring in Tip Blackburn. He's a historian for the Ridge Historical Society to learn more. Thank you for your time.
Hi, Anita. Thanks for having me.
So the Ridge Historic District, as I understand it, runs through the heart of Beverly and Morgan Park. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so like you said, it's the 50th anniversary, which we're really excited about. It was established on the National Register back in 1976. At the time, it was one of the largest urban, or was the largest urban historic district in the country. I think it's been, eclipsed by a few others, but it's still, one of the largest. At 1,200 acres and over 3,000 buildings within its boundaries. And really the wonderful thing about it is our community is how it evolved. It wasn't all built at one time. It was built over decades and decades as a commuter suburb. And so we have architecture styles from the 1870s all the way on to modernist architecture. But almost every single style that was built in Chicago was represented in that period. And every house is sort of a little bit different because you might have a house from 1870 next to a house from 1950. So it's sort of this variety that really makes it especially interesting. And then of course we had all the wonderful Chicago architects come down here and design and build homes as well.
And why was it called Ridge?
Yeah, so this community has often kind of considered it as one community. So Beverly Hills, that name came around in 1890, right as that area was getting annexed in Chicago. Morgan Park was a separate community, and they called themselves the Ridge. That's in reference to the Blue Island Ridge. We are on essentially what is an island 10,000 years ago when the glaciers retreated. They piled up what was left here, so we're on a 5.5 mile island. Essentially, when Chicago was completely underwater, we were 60 feet above downtown Chicago, high and dry, 10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And so if people come to the Ridge, and what makes it unique today versus some of the other? Because one of the things I think is beautiful about the city of Chicago is that really there is not just history that you're walking through, from one neighborhood to the next, but like a preservation of like something that makes it different from the others.
Yeah, the area is just like I said, with the Ridge, literally, it enabled the architects to do really unique buildings that have this presence right on top of this hill. And so as you drive up and down Longwood Drive, you can really see where they built some of the grandest houses overlooking that. And then from there, it kind of just spreads out, and like I already said, the scale of what's there and the variety. But here you have winding streets. You have lot sizes that are a lot larger than your standard Chicago lot that might be 25 feet, 30 feet wide. Here, to have a 50-foot wide lot, deep lot, is not uncommon. In fact, there's one house here that has over 2 acres of property.
Whoa. Wow, very distinct for Chicago. Tell me about, maybe do some name dropping here, because some of the architects, the developers who have worked in that area are very well known.
Yeah, no, they like I said, they all came down here. Frank Lloyd Wright, we have 4 of his houses. 2 were sort of original commissions that each tell a unique story. One's right on that ridge, overlooking you, and it's got the horizontality and just this commanding presence there. And then there's 2 Frank Lloyd Wright ones that were American system built houses, so they were meant to be sort of mass manufactured, but they are truly Frank Lloyd Wright originals as well. Other ones, we had Walter Burley Griffin, George Washington Mayer, Howard Van Doren Shaw, just the whole gamut of Chicago architects, and then lots of local really unique ones to this area. I won't go through all of them. One that we put into our resolution that was passed yesterday with City Council was Maud Kirk, who was a female practicing architecture just for a few short years. We've identified 5 houses that she for sure designed, possibly 7 in total, just in this area in a very short period of time when women weren't really practicing architecture at all, 1909, 1912.
I love it. Great piece of women's history there. People have the opportunity to walk through the area, learn more, coming up next month. Tell us about the home tours.
Yeah, so the Beverly Area Planning Association has had their home tour since 1971. And it started out as a bus tour through the neighborhood where you got to tour the insides of really, wonderful houses all over here. They rarely repeat a home because there's so much variety to choose from. And they really try to highlight the entire neighborhood. So, this year you'll start down by 115th at the Mercy Home, which is a former residence, often referred to as the Walgreens Mansion in our neighborhood. Stunning 1925 Tudor by Harry Hale Waterman. And then you'll progress all the way through the neighborhood as you see the other 5 homes that are on the home tour. It is a driving tour, so you drive yourself to it. And it's just a wonderful experience from different experiences. They'll have things to drink and eat, and you get to see all the insides of the houses.
Pretty cool. I'm sure a lot of people will want to take advantage of that. And what does it mean to you to be a part of this historic moment for the area?
For me, I love just the history. So, I've really been digging into, whether it's histories of houses, whether it's the architects, you name it. So I adore the history and being able to share the history as much as we can. I'll be doing that over social in the next few months as we really try to celebrate, this historic milestone. And we've got quite a few other things lined up as well to celebrate this anniversary.
I was going to ask you about that. How else are you all celebrating?
Yeah, so the pole banners go up on Friday. We're about a month out from the official 50th anniversary, if you will. And then by mid-month, in time for the home tour, Ridge Historical Society will host an exhibit on the 50th anniversary of the historic district, featuring photography by Maddie Maldray, who is a wonderful photographer. All of these photographs were taken mostly in the 1980s, actually for the Beverly Area Planning Association. And it shows, all of the contributing buildings in the district, as well as a curated list and other historic districts also within the Ridge Historic District. Like I mentioned, we'll do some social posts with more history. We're looking forward to a book release for Maddie Maldray, the photographer. His book is coming out July 28th. It's photography of this area. It's entitled The Architecture of Chicago's Beverly Hills Morgan Park. So we'll have release events around that. And otherwise, we'll be keeping it fun. We have porch concerts throughout the summer here once a month and so forth. So lots going on.
We have such a rich history of architecture throughout the city of Chicago. Why do you think, architecture means so much to us versus other cities in the country?
There's a few, I go back, we were such a hotbed for the development of architecture here. From going back in the 1880s, post-Chicago fire, everyone was streaming in, and then things kind of settled in. So, the number of architects that came in and were trying to, design the next big, unique thing. So, fortunately, we had lots of owners and potential people buying houses that could commission all these wonderful architects. So what we have here in Chicago, it's truly remarkable, truly special, and everyone really should celebrate it.
I fully agree, and I'm glad that you all are. Congratulations on it all, and thank you for putting in the planning and work to celebrate the Ridge Historic District in fullness this year.
Thank you.
All right, you take care. 50th anniversary, everybody, for that area here in Chicago, and plenty of ways that you can be a part of the celebration, or at least just kind of learn something new. And the home tour really sounds amazing, especially next month on Sunday, May 17th. It's just about 2:42. We're going to take a 2-minute break, and then we'll be learning about these brushing scams. Apparently, the Better Business Bureau says this was Chicago's local top first quarter scam. So it's happening a whole lot, whether we know what's happening or not. It is quite a bit, and we're going to learn more about what to look out for coming up next. All right, welcome back. Just about 2:45, and let's dive into these brushing scams, shall we? Steve Burness, President and CEO for the Better Business Bureau here in Chicago, joining me, hopefully to educate us all about this. It seems like it's happening regardless of whether we can actually name it or not.
It's happening a lot. Thank you so much for having me today as well. Basically, brushing scams are when you're getting a package or items from a seller who's fraudulently sending them to you so they can brush up on their sales and create fake reviews, then making it look like you're the buyer. and that you bought all these items, so it helps them with the Amazon and the other retailers, making them look like they're authentic, retailer in some way. But it also is a form of identity theft too, because they do have all of your information. They are using it to their advantage. They have your address, your name. What else do they have on you? And what else are they going to use with your information as well? So if you ever open your door and see all these packages out there, and some consumers have come to us that says that they're nonstop sometimes, and it's really hard to get them to stop coming to your house.
I'm so confused though. Where are they getting the information?
A lot of this stuff is taken from data leaks, data breaches, those types of things where your identities are stolen. Again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when your identity will be stolen. So there's so many sites out there that have data leaks and those types of things. So this information is out there. They have information on a lot of people. My identity has been stolen a couple times, and I'm very protective of it. There's so many people that are victims of identity theft, and it's still the fastest white collar crime today. And it's getting worse and worse ever since the pandemic, because everybody shifted online, and guess what? The scammers go where the people are at, so they shifted all their resources online, and that's why online scams have been the number one scam for the last 5 years at the Better Business Bureau.
Yeah, and what are you seeing specific to our region that maybe other regions aren't experiencing?
Our region, especially in Chicago and Illinois, seems to get a lot more packages. So it's not just one or two that other markets seem to be getting. We seem to be getting hit harder, and it's all over north side, south side, suburbs. It doesn't matter. We're getting calls from lots of consumers who are confused. And some of the people want to keep what's inside and don't know what to do with it. Do you throw it away? And again, if somebody sends you something that's unordered, you didn't order it, you have no right to pay for them or to return it back. It's basically a gift to you. But in these boxes, there's nothing worth being a gift. Some of these are counterfeit products. Some have alleged they're just plants. Who would plant a seed or whatever from these types of boxes? We don't know where they're coming from some of the times. And these retailers open up shop quickly, and they shut down quickly. So for the authorities to find them, good luck. I mean, there's so much fraud out there today that this is really a minuscule to them, but it's really concerning to those consumers who open up their door and see all these packages addressed to their name. And most recently, we've seen it also where they get packages delivered, and it looks like they're the seller. So now the sellers are using fake names. So they're saying that I sold this product, and they're returning the product, meaning they're wanting their money back. So it's really the wild, wild west out there on the internet, even though it's been around for a while, but the scammers are trying to capitalize on this, and they're doing a very good job of that.
It's so exhausting. It really is. I mean, because honestly, you would think the biggest issue, or one of the biggest issues when it comes to packages would be, we talk a lot about porch pirates, like disappearing packages, not packages appearing that you didn't pay for or didn't ask for.
Exactly. It happens both, though. The porch pirates, we still rank up there in the top 10 of the states that with the most porch pirates. But again, we're seeing both sides of it. So not only people stealing your packages, they're also leaving you packages now, the scammers, and you don't know what they're going to do with this information. There's no clear-cut thing that's going to happen to you. There's so many different variations. So when people say, what's going to happen? Well, we don't know. The one thing we do know is that you're a victim of identity theft. Somebody's using your name to say who you are, and they're saying that you ordered this product. So really, you're truly a victim of identity theft. Again, they build a file on you. So again, remember the Equifax, breaches years ago. People are still alleging that their information was taken many years ago, but they keep this information and they create this list for you and build a list on you of your information. So the more information they get from you, the better it is for the ID thief or the scammer who wants to steal your identity. And that's still, like as I mentioned earlier, it's the fastest growing white collar crime. So we want consumers and businesses to be very protective of their personal and business information as well. One simple click of a link that you didn't mean to click can open Pandora's box and bring companies down to their knees in essence. Recently, last year, we had a law firm in Chicago, a very prominent law firm. The receptionist clicked on a link, put the malware and spam on the computer, and locked the computers of the law firm for 2.5 weeks. They were out of business, and they had to pay $1 million to get their own data back. So these scams are out there. Scammers are trying it all different ways, and that's why we want consumers to tell us about these scams. The Better Business Bureau, as you know, has a scam tracker. We keep a track of scams all across North America, and we keep websites, we keep phone numbers, and all this information is fed into the government Centennial database. So when the authorities are going after these individuals or entities, they have more information about them. But it's important for consumers to call us first. And I've been doing this for 38 years at the Better Business Bureau, and consumers call us after they've been taken most times, when it's too late. We want the opposite. I want consumers to call us first. We'll let you know about the scam, what to look out for. Our website, bbb.org, has a plethora of information on buying and selling in the marketplace. Again, do all the homework ahead of time, not after, because sometimes after it's too late, your identity is stolen or your computer is locked up and there's nothing that people can do to help you.
So should we just leave the package out there for the porch pirates to get it? Or what should we do?
Well, basically, look at who it's coming from. And sometimes there's no information on who it's coming from, so basically just throw those things away. If it is a well-known retailer like an Amazon or some other company, eBay or whatever, you can call them and see if it was actually sent by them, and they can help try to stop it. We don't want you clicking on QR codes. Sometimes some of these boxes have the seller's information inside. It says, here's who sold it to you. Well, it's a QR code, and you click that QR code, it goes to a scammer's website that puts spam and malware on your computer. So don't do too much investigation of it other than calling who you think that package is from. Don't click on any links. Don't use the QR code in there to see who it's from. They want you to get to open that box. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't care if you open the box. They just said that you sent this package, you got it, and then what they do then is create a fake review to make it look like that you're an authentic buyer and you're very happy with the product because their fake review says you give them 5 stars.
I just, does it baffle you how much creativity goes into trying to scam people? I mean, it's just it's constant. There's constantly something new.
What baffles me the most is that there's so much information out there today that consumers still fall for these scams. And I think, I'm saying that in trying to be as nice as possible, is that consumers are too trustworthy. They're willing to give information or answer a phone that says IRS. They're going to give your social security number out. You don't do that. There's so many scams out there. There's so many protections out there that consumers need to do. They need to do ahead of time. They need to be proactive about it. Follow up on what's happening. Go to the Better Business Bureau website. Join our newsletter. Get this information sent to you and become educated. Because we'll never put scammers out of business. The only way to put scammers out of business is for consumers not to give them your business. And that's the key. And the scams keep increasing. Why? Because people are falling for it. Just last week, the Secretary of State issued a warning on those texts saying that you owe money from the tollway or you owe money for your driver's license, and it's gonna lose your driver's license. Well, people click on that. They fear they're going to get arrested. They're going to lose their license. That's what the scammers want. But all this information is in Scam Tracker. So if you get things that Secretary of State, and they ask you for information, go on our website and look what others have said. It was so much information out there. So it's really up to the consumer to become educated. Your parents especially are home, maybe elderly, who open a door for everyone. When my mom was living, she opened a door for everybody. How many times I told her? And that's the key, is not to give them your business and report these frauds. If you see it, say something to us. Our information is shared with the authorities to hopefully put these companies out of business, but more importantly, it's going to stop others from falling for this scam.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for enlightening us. I hope that people heard you and do not fall victim to this or any other scam out there, and alert the authorities before doing anything. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, it's 2:55 right now. I want to take you to a live press conference that's happening at the moment. We were just talking about the DuPage County flooding issues that they have there. This is for Lake Superior. This is a group in Michigan near the Sheboygan Dam.
People have been working long hours, and I want to thank them for their efforts. They've been placing sandbags to guide water flow and to help prevent erosion. They've been working hard to get the hydroelectric powerhouse up and running to increase the flow of the water through the dam. They've been placing pumps to route water around the dam, and they've really done yeoman's work to move water. Our partners in these efforts have been outstanding. It includes the state agencies, especially the state police, Eagle, and our county partners, our federal agencies, everybody. I want to thank especially Governor Whitmer for her support in these efforts. She is here today to stand beside all of us and for the people of Northern Michigan. With that, please welcome Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Thank you, Director. Thank you. I want to acknowledge that everyone here is talking about teamwork, and that's what it takes to get through tough times like these. We just wrapped up a tour of the Sheboygan Lock and Dam Complex and had a briefing with the local and state officials. And here in Sheboygan, we know that crews have been working incredibly hard to put down sandbags, place pumps, remove gates, restart the turbine, and increase the flow of water around and through the dam. We're continuing to explore more options to prevent dam failure and keep water from flowing over the dam. So many people have been working around the clock, and they're exhausted but determined to continue going. And they're working through the night over the last week to protect Michiganders and their property. I want to thank Emergency Manager Jeremy Runstrom, his team, Sheriff Rose, County Administrator Lawson, Sheboygan Mayor Mallory, State Representative Cam Cavett, who I don't think is here, but we've got State Senator John DeMoose here, all of whom have been making sure that we stay focused and addressing any issues that are arising. And I want to thank all the local, federal, and state officials, including the DNR and MSP, for their hard work. Communities across Michigan are dealing with the impacts of severe weather. This is a severe moment here, but we are dealing with impact of weather all across our state right now. At this time last year, we were beginning to recover from a historic ice storm, as you all remember better than anybody. And over the last few days, we've seen record rain, straight line winds, tornadoes, and widespread flooding. We're monitoring high water levels everywhere, from the Boardman River downtown Traverse City to dams in Mayo, Bel Air, Brethren, and elsewhere, and highways in Detroit. So I declared a state of emergency in 33 of our counties to deploy additional resources to help local officials and first responders protect Michiganders and their property. My administration will continue to monitor the situation and work with local communities to get them the resources that they need. We are in crisis mode now. Recovery mode will take additional work, and we will continue these partnerships. Michiganders are strong. Whether it's a historic ice storm or record flooding, we're neighbors, we chip in and we help one another, and we're tough, and we're going to get through this together. We will continue to work alongside local officials here in Sheboygan and across Michigan to make sure that we keep Michiganders safe. So I encourage everyone, as the sheriff said, get your information from the official releases, please. Make sure that you stay abreast of what is happening, any developments. Yes, it's sunny out there, not raining at the moment, but we are still under real threat from water, and so we want you to stay informed and listen to the emergency management officials who have got the best, most accurate information to stay safe. With that, I will turn it over to one of my partners in the legislature, Senator John DeMoose.
Thank you. I'm just honored to be a
We've been listening to the update there near the Sheboygan Dam. We heard from the sheriff in the area and also Governor Gretchen Whitmer as they have been preparing people and talking about the work that's going in to make sure this doesn't get any worse out there. The governor said they are in crisis mode right now, this dealing with flooding. In crisis mode right now, recovery will take some time. The water levels, I was just looking over the information from our sister station in Detroit. Detroit. They say the water levels were less than 6 inches from the top of the Sheboygan Dam as of first thing this morning. The water levels have been fluctuating, and so the Sheboygan County Sheriff, who you heard from there, has said that people should prepare their families and vehicles to evacuate that area. So residents downstate, they're telling them to prepare and to go ahead and evacuate. They've been giving updates throughout the day, reminding residents that you want to get your plan together, your personal items, prescriptions, all of those things, as they've been saying. But just pretty incredible to see what the storm system that has been affecting so many in the Midwest has been doing. We heard from officials there in DuPage County just maybe 30 minutes ago as they were talking about what they've been doing for the rivers in that area, and then hearing much worse conditions for those folks in Michigan as they now tell people to evacuate and talk about the sandbags they're putting out and the gates they're putting up, all of those things to keep people, their lives and their property safe. Let's move into our conversations for the final hour now here on Chicago Live. We always appreciate you being here in our 3 o'clock hour, and we have news out of Aurora that we're going to start our conversations with first. We have John Zagluol, the communications manager for the city of Aurora, who is joining me. They have been named a winner of 2 national awards and the 15th annual Digital Government Awards. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Anita. Great to be with you.
Absolutely. So tell me what it takes to be named at the top 4 digital awards.
Well, it certainly takes a lot of work and a lot of teamwork, to say the least. These 2 awards that came through, we just found out about them a couple of weeks ago. One of them has to do with the fact that we've completely revamped our digital infrastructure here at the city. In the past year now, we've launched a brand new website, a brand new engagement website, and a brand new email service, in addition to our My Aurora 311 customer service system. So from a digital perspective, there's been so much movement on the back end and a lot of collaboration between departments to get these awards and get all these things done, which at the end of the day really benefit the residents more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about some of the people who have been instrumental in that, because I would love to know, like, what kind of minds came together to do all of that?
Absolutely, and it was really a big process from top to bottom. It started with the administration, mayor's office, et cetera, really getting involved and wanting to see a new website for the city come to fruition, because initially we just had a very outdated website that was difficult to navigate and wasn't necessarily ADA accessible. In addition, our 311 service, headed by now our customer relations manager, Ricky Benjamin, she's done a great job at coming in and wanting to revamp that service too. And again, it all started at the top with the mayor's office. From there, it was really a joint effort between our communications and marketing department, our IT, information and technology department, and of course the customer service team, to all work together in partnership with our vendor to get to where we are today, which is really a unified and brand new experience for Aurora residents, that they could get the information that they need in a timely manner and make it as accessible and as easy as possible.
Can you talk about making these changes in an age where people need information like that, where they need to be able to access it so quickly? I mean, these are the types of conversations we have in our newsrooms all the time about how to get information to people as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. It's a big problem that we had to fix personally, especially as you mentioned, with everything becoming more digitized and, with phones and internet and websites being even more important. It was really critical for us as a city to move into the 21st century, making sure that we met residents where they were at. So really, from a website perspective, the old website that we had was very antiquated and outdated. It had some, outdated information. It had issues with its internal search function. So we were able to redesign a whole new website from scratch. We have our updated branding and colors on there, but we've also made things a lot easier. We've actually revamped our menus at the top of the page to make things more intuitive for residents who may not know government speak per se, so they could find what they need in a timely manner in terms of services or making requests or sending things into 311. The 311, My Aurora 311 team has launched actually a brand new mobile app, which is really exciting. People can simply go on their phone, snap a picture of an issue, maybe a property standards violation or a need for a water and sewer replacement, things of that nature. They could snap a picture, and that goes straight into the 311 team 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, which is really amazing. We have that new engagement site that I talked about previously that allows us to communicate with residents directly about specific projects going on. So if there's a big infrastructure project or a new mayor's initiative that we want to get the word out on, but it's bigger than just some web page on a website, we could use that site to better engage with our residents. And then our newsletter system, we have over 160,000 emails and phone numbers in our system. We send out weekly newsletters. We send out news alerts to everybody who subscribes. So it's really critical for us, and it's been amazing to be able to meet people where they're at and to really effectively communicate to more people, because we didn't have all of that at our disposal before, but now we do, thanks to our hard work between IT, communications, and the mayor's office to get this all done now.
And is that sharing the good news like today, but also some of the tough things that happen as well?
Absolutely. You know, here at the City of Aurora, we really pride ourselves on transparent and open communication. There's no doubt about that. So obviously, we love to spread the positivity because there is so much good happening here in Aurora. Every day we get to tell some great stories, whether it's about things going on here in the city or whether it comes to residents making us proud and doing great things to uplift the city. At the same time, of course, if there are critical issues and serious things that we need to get out there to the public, fortunately, due to this new technology, we're able to get that out there very quickly. It allows more residents to be better informed and then in turn more engaged in the day-to-day government process.
Yeah, what would you say is the most antiquated thing that you all have had to update?
Most definitely the website. Although other aspects were certainly antiquated, like the 311 system or the email system, the website for sure, it hadn't received really much of a facelift since 2015. We launched it last year in 2025. So, you know, we got complaints from residents all the time that it just looked old. It wasn't ADA compliant. It wasn't even mobile friendly. At the end of the day, when you were searching up things in its internal search function, sometimes you get pages that didn't even exist anymore. It was a really antiquated system that definitely needed updating. And for a city our size, I mean, the second largest city in the state of Illinois, we needed to make sure that we had a robust and good working digital infrastructure, good websites that way people could access critical information, of course, like news, but also paying water bills, finding ways to be sure that they could easily interact with the city in the most basic of ways. So for sure, it was the website, and I'm glad and happy to say that it looks much better now.
You mentioned being the second largest city in the state of Illinois and growing. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, I feel like we've had several conversations just recently from different departments about responses to the growth in Aurora.
Absolutely. You guys had on our deputy or our interim fire chief, Kevin Nickel, just a few weeks ago to talk about the 2 new fire stations that have opened up here in Aurora. We recently we still have a home buyer incentive program that's going on. That's $25,000 plus in incentives for people to move to Aurora. And Aurora is the second largest city. We're actually going to be pursuing a special census recount. Right now, we're officially at about 185,000 people. We think we're closer to 200,000. The point being, Aurora is still growing. There's so many good things happening here, from economic development initiatives, I mean, new small businesses opening every week, to sustainability initiatives from our new mayor, John Lash, and of course, all the great things that go on just in the day-to-day here in the city. There is so much happening. There's no doubt about it. It's hard to even keep track of all of it half the time from us up here in communications. But at the end of the day, it's really exciting. So like you said, when it comes to growth, this city is booming, and I only see it going up and up and up.
So what more do you think you all need to do to accommodate that?
Absolutely. From an accommodation perspective, I think there are a lot of things we're already doing, especially, as I had mentioned, when it comes to public safety, investing more in public safety, investing more in economic development and trying to bring more businesses in. But we're also building more houses, which is important because at the end of the day, with our population growing, we need to make sure that we meet that demand. And our development services team, in addition to our economic development team, do a really good job at working together to talk to builders. And there are a number of developments already breaking ground ground and or being built. We have beautiful Del Webb residences, a senior community out on the Far East Side, and the Lincoln Crossing community as well, which is for everybody, all ages, all people, over on the Far East Side. There's more developments also happening on the city's west side as well. There's Prairie Crossing, which is a 55-plus community. There's some new townhomes coming up right off of Orchard Road, and there's even going to be a new development featuring a gas station and some more townhomes right off I-88 and the interstate off of Orchard Road as well. So from a residential perspective, I think that's the key, right? As our population continues to grow and as more and more people hear about Aurora in the news or hear about it on social media or read a press release, they want to make sure, and we want to make sure, that we have enough housing to support all these people who want to call Aurora home.
Oh, come on, Aurora. Sounds wonderful. How's downtown doing?
Downtown is amazing, Anita. We have so many things going on here. I mean, the Paramount Theater is really the anchor of the downtown. They are the largest subscription-based theater in the entire United States of America. Over 38,000 people subscribe to their shows. We have River Edge Park. There's going to be some big announcements coming up there soon. There was just a multi-million-dollar renovation on that facility, and their concert series is going to be opening up here in May. We have the Stope Island Theater as well. That's brand new, hosting $1 Million Quartet. That's been on a run for over a year and a half. We have a ton of brand new restaurants and businesses that are going to be opening up very soon, in addition to ones that have been open really only in the past couple of years. Downtown Aurora itself has gone through a significant transformation. I know the casino is going to be moving out. They're going to be moving off I-88 and Farnsworth Avenue. But still, despite that, I mean, there are so many businesses here in downtown. More continue to open every day. There's better parking. The Metro train runs right through here. So there are so many different ways for people to get involved, especially in the downtown, and so many new places to go and new food to try too.
And what would you say would be next in terms of big tech?
Well, from a tech perspective, I do know that right now our information technology department, or IT department, has been working on a number of specific initiatives. Right now, they've actually been critical in helping the new River Edge Park come to completion when it comes to access and making sure that good Wi-Fi is there for concert goers, because there's going to be a big concert series there this year with the renovations being complete and the park reopening to the public. So IT's been doing a great job at working on that. They're also working on strengthening our fiber optic ring. We have a lot of fiber running under the city of Aurora. They're working on strengthening that ring to be sure that more businesses and schools and healthcare facilities have the opportunity to tap in and access some good fiber optic internet as well. So we have a lot going on from a tech perspective here, and I think it's only going to continue to grow, especially with a lot of development off the I-88 and Neola Road corridor. That's kind of our tech corridor of the city, and there are a lot of buildings and structures being put over there, and tech companies also choosing to build their home here in Aurora in that area because there are already so many in that spot of town.
And I know your job is to hype up the city, but I hear we've got to spend a moment and talk about you. You received an award personally.
I did. Thank you, Anita. I don't like to talk too much about myself, but I appreciate you asking. So I did receive the Changemaker of the Year award in partnership with Granicus. The city got the 2 awards, as you correctly mentioned earlier. We got one for the entire city, total government experience, and then due to my role on the project from the website and the engagement site and the email side, I was awarded the Changemaker of the Year award. There are 3 of those that are given out, one at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. So I was the selection from the local level for local governments across the country. So it is an unbelievable honor, to say the least. And, for me, I think it just reflects my love and my passion for this city and its people. Doing this work, being able to work hard. There were a lot of long nights that I pulled, certainly, to make sure this website and all this stuff came to completion. But for me, it was all about, okay, when this is done, this is certainly going to benefit residents so much. So that was the motivation for me, seeing and knowing that things were going to get so much better from a unified communication and engagement perspective on the digital side by getting this project done and bringing it to completion. And I'm glad to say that it got done. I didn't expect to win the award. I'm honored and humbled and grateful that I did. But even more than that, I was just so glad that we got this done for the residents because they needed it. We heard it from them. And I'm glad that we made sure to deliver for them, as we always try to do.
You are an excellent representative. Congratulations on the award, and congratulations to the city of Aurora for all of the great things that are happening there. We love to see it. Thank you so much for your time, John. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Anita. Always appreciate it.
All right. Have a good rest of your day. 3:14. We're back after this. I'll update you on some. Welcome back, everyone. It's 3:16 right now. A few things that are populating on our website we'll get to momentarily, but because our next guest is joining us from so far away, let me just go ahead and bring her into the chat as we talk about Tylenol and autism and a new study that is out. I have Dr. Kira Philipson Prom from Copenhagen University Hospital. Thank you so much for taking the time out for us here for Chicago Live.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. What time is it there?
Well, it's 10:15 p.m.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Big time difference, which makes us appreciate the sacrifice of time that much more. Tell me about you all's study. Why did you do this study right now?
Well, we did it because earlier studies has been conflicting. So we found it relevant to make a large and well-designed study to either confirm or refuse if there were an association. And our study supports the current body of evidence where we don't find an association.
You do not find association. There's been this large debate over association versus causation. Can you explain that for us?
Well, so in statistics, we look for associations. We cannot say definitely if there is a cause, but it most likely means the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you all found no link to autism from Tylenol?
No.
Mm-hmm. What I would like your response to claims otherwise. How has that made you all feel in the midst of your study and the science that you all have been looking at?
What it has been, sorry, again?
I would like your response to the FDA saying that it would recommend limiting Tylenol use in pregnancy under U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. A lot of people heard that, wondered, okay, what should I do? You are a doctor. You did scientific research for this study. How do you feel about hearing claims otherwise to what you are learning in your study?
Well, in general, we recommend that pregnant women take as little as possible medication, but Tylenol is usually a medication that has very little side effects also for pregnant women, and it can be a good drug to treat both pain and fever. And then it's also important that we don't conclude that there are some potential association that we cannot see in the majority of research. So we don't concern people about something that we actually don't, that we can't see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you feel that there's even as much controversy there in Denmark as there is in the U.S. over this particular issue?
No, I think our health authorities have, as also the WHO, the World Health Organization, they have gathered most of the current evidence, and today the body of evidence are talking against a possible association, and that's also what the Danish authorities have said.
Mm-hmm. So walk me through what you all did in your study.
Well, so we have looked at 1.5 million children that were all the children born between 1997 and 2022. And we looked at the women who took Tylenol and the women who didn't, and compared them and saw if there were an increased risk of autism for the ones who took Tylenol, and we couldn't see an association.
Mm-hmm. And when you got your results, was that surprising to you or in line with what you already thought?
Well, since most other studies and also a very big Swedish studies from 2024 showed no association, we thought that was also what we would find.
Mm-hmm. And when you hear people in the U.S. who say, this had to be the cause, this had to be, there has to be a link, what do you say to them?
Well, I say that, I would say that it's, we cannot conclude that would be it. It's most likely more, genetic or environmental reason, but most likely not the use of Tylenol.
Mm-hmm. Have you had patients ask you about this?
No, actually not.
Really? Okay. I mean, you did say that it's not as controversial there. That's very interesting because it really hasn't I'm sure you all see what's going on in the U.S. and it has sent shockwaves through our communities here.
We know when there is a study that first show a potential association, it can be very hard to bring out the information about the body of evidence that today show that there is no causal relationship.
Mm-hmm. And on the flip side, let's say a woman is hearing conflicting accounts, doesn't know what to do, and says, I am not taking that stuff if there's even an ounce of a possibility that this could be linked to autism, and you're trying to say to the patient, no, there's no link. If they say, no, I'm not taking it, what risk does not taking Tylenol, which is just the brand name for acetaminophen, what risk could a woman run in not taking that particular medication during pregnancy if they're having some issues?
Well, you can get many different diseases during a pregnancy, and most Tylenol is usually only used for mild pains and also for, of course, high fevers. But it's very important that if you have pain or if you have a fever during a pregnancy, you should contact your health authorities or a doctor to figure out the underlying reason for your disease, for your symptoms, and then they can help you guide what is the best treatment for you. And it's hard to see if there is a big risk not taking it. It depends on what symptoms you have, and
Is it frustrating for you to essentially have to debunk this kind of stuff?
Well, I guess it's always up to the individual person to decide what they want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for doing the research and for sharing the results with us here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Everyone, it's 3:25 right now. Let's go over a few of the stories that are populating on the website at the moment. We have one about Markham honoring investigators who were involved in a double murder case. This is from 2025, a shooting that took place there in the city of Markham, and these investigators now being honored. The victims identified as Diamond Taylor Harvey and Jamari Stigler. The suspect was charged with and arrested within 48 hours. So they did very quick work to bring some justice to a family that lost a loved one. Lost two loved ones. I mean, this was a double murder case. Shook the community, and at this point in time, we know that Jamari was just 23 years old, Diamond 27 years old. When police responded there was a suspicious vehicle. They found both victims suffering from life-ending gunshot wounds. They were taken to the hospital, but died. So quick work from these officers in just a matter of days to be able to have an arrest, get some charges here. The charges in the case, let's see. Yeah, charges in the case stuck there. So obviously there has been no conviction as of yet, but they were able to bring this along quite quickly, and the city of Markham wanted to honor those investigators who were involved in getting that again, that piece of justice to families that lost loved ones. Also, a mother demanding answers after a veteran daughter was found dead. There's so much to this story online. Again, you can check it out, fox32chicago.com. This was in Chicago Heights. I believe Artia Ewing was on this story yesterday. It was a 25-year-old Marine who was found dead in her apartment. And I do believe that this apartment complex was specifically for veterans, okay? People who have sacrificed it all for our nation. And she was found dead in this apartment. At the time, they said they think that maybe she had been dead for weeks in that apartment. Her cause of death still under investigation right now. Her mother says nearly all of her belongings, this after they make this discovery and say, person's probably been dead for weeks in this apartment. Her belongings were removed or discarded within 48 hours before her family could get there. The mother demanding answers now from building management and authorities. They have not responded, but she's been raising concerns about how the situation was handled. And so Artia Ewing was on that, still asking more questions for that family. And then speaking of family, if you were with us in the 1 o'clock hour, we took right off the top of the show comments from President Trump, particularly about the war in Iran, but he was also asked about this ongoing back and forth between he and Pope Leo. And of course, Pope Leo is from the Chicagoland area. President Trump and Pope Leo going back and forth over the Pope's comments over the weekend regarding war. All popes, most ministers, advocate for peace. And so it really wasn't anything out of the ordinary for clergy to advocate for peace. But the president did not like what the Pope said. He said then that the Pope was weak on crime, weak on foreign policy. The vice president even got in on this, saying that the Pope should be careful on speaking on foreign policy. He should leave his comments to religion. The Pope saying that a lot of this is tied together. It's not necessarily him making foreign policy decisions, but it is him talking about the gospel and how the gospel is interpreted when it comes to matters of war and peace. Well, all of that said, there was a bomb threat reported to the home of Pope Leo's brother in Chicagoland, in New Lenox to be more exact, this morning. So police are investigating. That article is also on our website right now as they continue to try to figure out who may have called in this bomb threat. Authorities evacuated nearby residents, conducted a search with canines. They found no explosives. Thank goodness. But you just think of how a war of words has now turned into bomb threats for the Pope's brother, who's right here in this area. So those are a few of the things that people are looking at on our website right now. It is 3:30. Our chief meteorologist just walked in, and so we're going to take a 2-minute break and then bring her into the discussion. We've got to find out about the weather and maybe a few other things.
Still here.
3:32. She's here.
Still here. That's just my response now. Still here.
I've been telling her, random people are asking. Everyone's so invested in this at this point.
You know, and I think I figured it out, though, is because, so Natalie Bomke and I were pregnant at the same time, and we, announced shortly after one another. I announced shortly after her. And I think everybody thought that I was due at the same time that she was. So she had her baby a while ago.
40.
I'm like 55 weeks pregnant now. Yes. Yes. But, due date's around the corner. Next week is the end date. So we're getting there.
The end is near.
Yes.
Yes. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I have my days where I'm just slowing down, I got the waddle, to get around these days, but it comes with the territory.
Well, we're all hoping for the best. We're super excited for you and the expanding family.
Thank you.
And when you're not here, we're like,
I know, every time I'm off, I'm getting text messages like, is it the day?
Is it the day? What's happening?
Yeah, so time is, we're getting down there now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the weather calms down by then, because it's been pretty active this week.
Gosh, it's been so busy this week. We've had round after round after round of, severe thunderstorms. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of rainfall. We're dealing with a lot of flooding across the region, especially near our waterways, our streams, our creeks, rivers, rising out of their banks. And unfortunately, I think we're going to have another go around here Friday night into early Saturday. Heavy rain. We're going to have severe thunderstorms being a possibility again. All hazards could be possible late Friday afternoon into Friday night. And that includes, unfortunately, isolated tornadoes being possible. But I'm really getting more and more concerned about the rainfall, though.
Yeah.
Because, we're already seeing so much flooding around a lot of our area rivers, and it's just going to continue to get worse. So a couple numbers here that I'm gonna throw out at you here. So some portions of our area have picked up as much as 200 to 300% of the normal rainfall that we've typically received in the last 30 days.
Ooh.
That's a lot. That's that's almost 3 times the amount in some locations of what's normal. Now, typically this time of the year, we're coming out of winter, we're coming out of that snow melt. Usually we're doing okay as far as, drought conditions, things like that. But we have had such an excess of rainfall that now it's really beginning to become a problem.
Yeah. We talked to officials down in DuPage.
Yeah.
And they are monitoring things very closely, kind of putting out some alerts to their surrounding communities. And then we took a live press conference from Sheboygan, Michigan.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, they're doing evacuations.
Yeah. So, and it oftentimes will take people by surprise too, because we get all of this rain, and then 12 to 24 hours go by, and then the rivers really start to swell. So it takes a day or so for a lot of that runoff to actually work its way all the way to those lower lying areas, into those rivers. So it's very common that we end up seeing the rivers swelling, on a nicer day like today, after a big rainfall. So, Friday night is when we're going to pick up a lot more rain, but I really expect area waterways to rise again by Saturday night, going into your Sunday morning. So for those of you, if you live near, a lot of our local rivers and you're already noticing that they're close to being out of their banks, just be very, very cautious over this upcoming weekend, because floodwaters, they rise very quickly. You don't have a lot of notice, so just make sure you're really paying attention.
Yeah, I think they said that Sheboygan Dam, they were like 6 inches away from overflowing. I mean,
it's terrifying.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
To think about that, and how many people now need to put everything together and try to, find some good ground to be on.
Right.
So are we looking forward to kind of settling into calmer weather next week?
We're going to settle down.
Okay.
We're going to settle down. So this whole week we've been stuck in a very, very active weather pattern. Today we're kind of in an in-between.
Yeah.
We're in between systems. We've got another one coming our way tomorrow night. As I was mentioning, late afternoon into the evening, the overnight is when we're going to have strong to severe thunderstorms. But then going into the weekend, we're going to have this really strong cold front move through. So on Saturday, if you're pulling out your phones, you're looking at the forecast, you're like, oh, Saturday looks pretty good. We're going to be in the 60s. Well, we're going to be in the 60s during the early morning hours. It's one of those backwards days. We're going to set our high temperature right at midnight. And then during
Goodness,
the
that's a
daytime,
big difference from Friday.
Big difference. So yeah, tomorrow's going to be really warm, which again, whenever you're kind of waiting on storms, if you have that heat, you have that humidity, you can feel it in the air that we have that chance of storms, right? So again, tomorrow's our stormy day. Saturday, falling temps though. So that high of 60, I think that's going to be in the morning. And then your daytime highs are likely going to be in the mid 50s. On Sunday, we'll enjoy a lot of sunshine. Highs are going to be in the low 50s. Now that is below normal. So our average highs now sit right around 60 degrees. But I want to draw your attention to the low temperatures. So whenever you look at our 7-day, we are forecasting for O'Hare specifically, because that is our official place that we forecast for in the Chicago area. Now, for those of you that are, familiar with the region, if you live in the suburbs, if you're away from that urban heat island, which is of course Chicago, your low temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler, which means we could actually be waking up frosty in some locations Sunday morning, Monday morning.
Crazy.
Yes. So if you have already kind of jumped the gun here and planted some of your spring flowers that are, sensitive to very cold conditions, just, you might want to try and cover those up if you can, because we are looking at potentially patchy frost out there Sunday and Monday morning across the outskirts of the region, most of the suburbs. I think we're going to be dropping pretty close to that freezing mark. But then we're on another upswing. I think by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're back up into the 70s. And notice next week, it's mainly dry.
I'm looking at that.
And we need that.
Yeah, we do, especially if you're going to take a day off.
Oh, I'm going to
or
take
a few.
I'm going to take several days off. I'm going to take several days off next
you
week.
You can't leave us with storms. You got to clear it out.
Oh,
so.
I think Mother Nature was like, let's squeeze them all in on Emily's last week.
Let's make her work.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming up. We're going to give you time to get downstairs for the 4 o'clock news. Love you. And we'll be back in 2 minutes. We're back at 3:43, and we're going to take a look at how things shaped up for the stock market today. Mixed picture here. Not too bad at all. Definitely had a rally at the end of the day, as you can see there on your screen, and we ended up the Dow Jones adding 115 points right on the nose there. So the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ composite both rose to some all-time highs today, adding their strongest gains this week. This is all due to the possible resolution to the Iran war. Hearing more positive talk about some ending being in the near future for us all. As we're looking at this, this week the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ have risen 3.3% and 5.2% respectively. Dow Jones has advanced more than 1% so far, but all of them receiving a bump today, with President Trump confirming that he spoke with the Lebanese president and Israeli prime minister. We told you about this in our first hour. We listened to the president making some comments to reporters there, but he confirmed that he spoke with both the Lebanese president and the Israeli prime minister, and that Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a 10-day ceasefire. If you really think about the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran, shortly after we decided, our nations decided on a ceasefire, the issue became what was still happening between Israel and Lebanon. Iran was saying, okay, if Israel is still bombing Lebanon, and this is really having to do with Hezbollah, if they're still bombing Lebanon, there's no ceasefire. And so the president said, hey, I'm going to talk to Benjamin Netanyahu, get him to, kind of ratchet things down a little bit if possible. And now we do have a 10-day ceasefire as of today that begins at 4 o'clock. So 15 minutes from now, technically, it begins at 4 p.m. today, 5 p.m. Eastern, this 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, having some effect here for our stocks here in our country. Israel halting the attacks on Lebanon, which has been a key condition. And so stocks have risen in recent days on this hope for an eventual peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. And a lot of analysts, even one we spoke to at the top of the newscast, at the top of our time together here, said they're pretty surprised. Everyone pretty surprised that our ceasefire with the U.S. and Iran is even holding up as well as it has over the last several days here. And so the S&P 500 and NASDAQ hitting some key milestones yesterday, again moving into record territory today, even as we still have a lot of questions about what is going to happen next. At least this is what we're seeing for now. We don't know whether the ceasefire will end up being extended, whether some type of deal will be made. President Trump has said that the next couple of days we should get some big news regarding the war. And of course, it seems as though whenever he does strike a more positive tone about the conflict there, that we do see some positive reflection of that in the stock market here. So according to one chief investment strategist, he says we are going to have to weather a couple subpar quarters of GDP. Everyone's kind of just been waiting for Iran to sort of work itself out, and that'll be a big positive, but the economy is still at 2% growth. We'll probably get a couple quarters under 2% here. I don't know if the markets are prepared for that, he said. So again, a mixed picture that we're seeing, a lot of it having to do with Iran. Still waiting on more numbers, obviously, that give us a better picture of what has taken place in Iran. Obviously, there's still hasn't ended, but what has taken place in Iran will reflect on the rest of our year. From an economic standpoint, the president, in his comments in our first hour today, talked about the fact that once this is over, we should get back into a much better territory. He said that once you free oil and the Strait of Hormuz, gas prices will go down. I talked to somebody today that was used to filling up for about $40. At the beginning of this conflict was filling up for about $70, and today spent $93 filling up. Okay, I'm in pain at the pump is the translation there. So the president said once you free oil, the Strait of Hormuz, gas prices go down, inflation goes down, and in his words, there will be no nuclear holocaust. He says that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, and that's at the heart of this deal that he wants to make. He says Iran wants to make a deal, but they haven't said that publicly, that they are willing to give up their possibilities and their nuclear capabilities in the future. So the president has categorized it again. He has spoken very positive things over the conflict today. He said, in fact, we have a good relationship with Iran. We're not hearing that necessarily from Iran, but he said that the blockade has been the U.S. blockade now, not when Iran was blocking the Strait of Hormuz, but the president said the U.S. blockade for the Strait of Hormuz has been more powerful than the bombing that was happening before, and that they are close to making a deal with Iran. But that big news today about the ceasefire that goes into an effect in about 10 minutes between Lebanon and Israel may be a key factor in getting some type of further deal done between the U.S. and Iran. Don't know just yet. Lots of questions still out in the air, and lots of lives obviously at stake, but this is where we are right now. Mixed picture there for the stock market, and ceasefire that starts in about 10 minutes between Lebanon and Israel, and so far so good in terms of the ceasefire holding up between the U.S. and Iran. Let's take a quick 2-minute break, everyone, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's just about 3:55. Want to talk to you about a couple of different things we're monitoring right now. First and foremost, let's go to the view from our chopper, and you can see, we've talked a lot about flooding in our area, in our state, and even in Michigan today. We are up above the Fox River. Not exactly sure at what point of the Fox River where we are, but you can see the water that is very close to those homes right there on the opposite side of the banks. And so there's been this question, if we get more rain, you were just listening to Emily say, if we get more rain on Friday, what will that do to these rivers that are already sitting at an advanced flood stage? For many of these folks, what are they prepared to do at this point in time? Will they ride it out? Will they maybe not have an issue? Will they need to go somewhere else? We know for the folks who are at the Sheboygan Dam that was only 6 inches from overflowing, they're asking people to evacuate from that area. Again, that's much further north, but we've definitely seen issues in our state as well. We spoke earlier, again, we're looking at the Fox River, but we even spoke with the DuPage Stormwater Management Committee chairman a little earlier in the program, and he was talking to us about some of the things that they're doing, operating the Elmhurst Quarry flood control facility there, and talking about some of the mitigation measures that they are taking right now, operating flood control facilities to make sure that people are okay. And he says so far things have gone well for them as well. But again, the flooding issues for many communities we are monitoring very closely with another round of rain that is anticipated on Friday night going into Saturday. Emily was saying by Saturday evening there could be some serious issues for many of these places that are kind of sitting right on the edge right now. Also want to give you a major update on a story that we first brought you last Friday. Last Friday we got a statement from the Archdiocese of Chicago about what they called an abrupt ending by CPS of services for Catholic school students who qualify under the U.S. Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. They were not happy about this. They said that it affected or would affect more than 800 students with disabilities who attend Chicago Catholic schools. And they were really asking, okay, if the federal government set aside this money, sent the money, and you're supposed to set it aside, what happened to it? How does this end up happening? There were a lot of questions about where the funding went for these programs. Well, we just got in a message from the Archdiocese of Chicago, and a renewed message here, and it says in the statement, the Archdiocese of Chicago this is about the restoration of special education instructional services for Chicago Catholic school students. I'm going to read it to you as we're just getting this in. It says, we are delighted to announce that Chicago Public Schools will be restoring special education instructional services to students in Chicago Catholic schools beginning Monday, April 20th. That's this upcoming Monday. Services will be provided through the Friday before Memorial Day, May 22nd, as had originally been planned. We appreciate the efforts of CPS CEO Dr. Macklin King and her staff to restore these important services. We also appreciate the outpouring of support that we heard from parents and others in recent days. The Archdiocese looks forward to working with CPS in the months ahead to ensure that students with disabilities receive the academic support they need and deserve, whether they attend public or non-public schools. So kind of full circle for an issue that we first brought you last Friday, that the services have now been restored, will be on Monday for these students who definitely need it and deserve it, who are with Chicago Catholic schools. Wanted to make sure we got that across to you. Please be careful, especially if you live near one of these rivers or tributaries in our area. They're going to talk much more about the flooding that we have been seeing coming up on the 4 o'clock news, and also the next round of storms that's on the way. And we certainly hope that you'll join us back.
Vaguely, I said. Vaguely.
Vaguely?
Vaguely.
Really?
I had a supporter in the room.
No, you didn't. Nope. And if you did, we've removed that person from the room.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
A lot to talk about. The president versus the Pope is one of those topics. Will the two meet to hash out their differences over the war with Iran?